The Volkswagen Santana is one of my favorite cars. It's not fast, it's not good looking, it doesn't handle well, and it's not particularly good at anything. But what that car has is personality, and what it did for me is offer up an opportunity for adventure. It gave me an open door to explore China in ways I couldn't do before. But more important than that, it gave me and my friends all of those things. In the same way, China isn't clean. It doesn't have a very high quality of living,
I mean, look at that.
and compared to other Asian countries, it's probably not the best first choice to live in. But just like the Santana, it's a vehicle that provides an almost limitless amount of adventure. And not in sort of the high production TV Anthony Bourdain goes to a famous restaurant way, although you can do that in China, but in the wake up on a mountain or in a desert or in a jungle that no one's ever heard of, all the while creating some of the best memories you'll ever have without really realizing it. Most people look at the Santana and say, why would you ever drive that thing? You know it's going to break, you know it's unregistered, and it was built by the communists 40 years ago, and they haven't even bothered changing the design. But for us, that car had so much more to it. It was a box of experience creation, memory making, and dead alternators. But I loved that car because of how it made me feel. I loved it because it brought friends and strangers together to experience and talk about. You can't go fast or look good or even get to where you want to go in a Santana most of the time, but then you'd be missing the point. In the same way, you shouldn't cross China off your list just because there's no YouTube or Facebook or some of the other limitations. China, just like the Santana, isn't the best, but I was able to do things and meet people I couldn't even dream about in other places, and all of that is the simplest way I can explain why I stayed there for so long. It was just too much fun. A lot of you might be quick to point out that I wasn't always happy in China, but that was okay. My happiness or my personality isn't China's fault. That's all my responsibility. However, China is a sort of land of extremes. We've often said that you'll have some of the best and worst times of your life in China. You'll have some of the best and worst food of your life. You'll meet some of the most friendly and disgusting people, the most beautiful and ugly places, the best and worst days. I lived in China for so long because even when there were days where nothing was right, I was tired, I was depressed, I knew that the next day something amazing could happen. Something totally unexpected and new. And that sort of thing excites me. I think I share that in common with most people that travel. I remember when I went back to Canada to see my family after 2 years of living abroad. I stayed for about a month, and after 2 weeks, I couldn't stand it. Sure, it was great to see everyone, and I still miss my family even today, but I couldn't get how ironic it was that the most different thing for me was the fact that everyone and everything was the same. Granted, my hometown of Ottawa doesn't change too fast anyway. I mean, it's known as the city that fun forgot. I'm not hating on anyone from back home or in Canada, but something made me bored. Everything was nice. Everything was laid out for you. There weren't any surprises or major problems. I missed China. When I made it back to Huizhou, I realized I had nowhere to live because I forgot the lease on my new apartment didn't start for another few days. I stayed on Simo's couch that night. We woke up early, Vivi made breakfast, and after eating, Simo grabbed my suitcase and he just said, "We're going on a trip." Before we could say anything, he had the keys to our bikes and he was out the door. We had no idea where we were going or if we'd even make it. We ended up driving all the way to Jiangxi province through beautiful mountains on brand new roads and roads we had to build ourselves. I saw things I've never seen before, some things I wanted to see and some things I really didn't. I climbed mountains and fell off beds. You see, the view atop a mountain is never superimposed by your ass being chafed like Homer Simpson's bikini line after 8 hours of riding. But that, right there, that ability to just do something like that is why I lived there for so long. A strong case could be made that you can do the same thing in your own country, but not really where I'm from. Where I'm from, you need a license, you need to take time off work, clear it with your wife, have a clear destination, check the different traffic laws. It needs to be planned, and most importantly, you need money. I know many Canadians that would love to buy a 20-year-old Buick and drive it across the country, but how many of us actually do it? Well, come to think of it, probably a lot, but I'm speaking from personal experience here. China doesn't have any real social restrictions from trying something crazy, at least as a foreigner. See, China can act like a key to a strange sort of freedom for the right type of people. I lived in China for its unexpectedness, my friends, my bikes, my cars, and you. All those things gave me my YouTube channel. YouTube gives me another reason to stay abroad, and without you, really none of this would be possible. So, to all of you, I say thank you. I'm Prozzie. Stay positive.